Hey everybody, first video blog in the new home. So excited to be here. It's nice to have a place to call my own. Thank you again to everybody who's helped out on my travels around the world. I want to say a very quick video blog this morning. I'm heading off to Vancouver. Just one night here in the new place, moved in a couple of suitcases and a couple of blankets, gave Pingu his new chair, which I think he's going to be very happy with, and heading off to Vancouver for a couple of sessions, one at the University of British Columbia for their Student Leadership Conference, and one in Kwantlen, which is in Surrey, BC. I also wanted to just say a couple of quick things. One, thank you to my new roommate, Inez, for her wonderful hospitality. It's great. It really is wonderful to have a place to come home to. I also wanted to say, if you're ever wondering how to do little video blogs and you don't have a tripod and you're using your BlackBerry, short coffee mugs work perfectly. I also wanted to say my first question I wanted to answer that someone had sent to me via email. They asked about when it was time to leave the University of Toronto and sort of break out on my own and do what I'm doing with Nuance. The question was, weren't you scared? And how did you deal with being scared? And the fact is that I actually was. But I'm actually right now reading, and I'm going to try to keep you guys up to date on a bunch of books I'm reading this year. I'm going to try to read a lot more in 2011. But last year, a great friend of mine named Hamza gave me a book called Lynchpin by Seth Godin. And I got to read the first few pages, and then, the semester that led to the craziness of me leaving sort of took over. And what's really interesting about this book, the main thing I've gotten from it, is that there's a difference between fear and anxiety. Fear is actually comes about from things that you need to be afraid of, from things that could do damage, from things that you should worry about. Anxiety is worrying about things that aren't actually there. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that, I thought I was scared, but what I realized was I was really anxious more than I was scared. Because the fact of the matter is, what I think we're all afraid of when we think about moments like, do we leave a job, break out on our own, put more trust in ourselves, and walk away from where there's some security, I think what it is that we're afraid, not so much of starving to death, because that's the only real fear we have, is that we'll end up broke and destitute, we're not going to have enough money to live. And I think most of us realize that we have friends and we have family and we have people with our backs who will make sure that won't happen. So really, I think what we're afraid of is that somehow we're going to have to look at who we are and say, this isn't where I expected to be. I expected more from myself. I thought I'd be better than this. I thought I'd make more money than this. I thought I'd have a more prestigious job than this. And it seems to me we're afraid if we leave what we have, that we're going to end up looking back and saying, oh my gosh, now I have nothing. And something is better than nothing. And I think that what I really realized was that I wasn't afraid of leaving my job and starving to death. I wasn't afraid of leaving my job and having no place to live. I was afraid maybe of leaving my job and then looking back 2 years and saying, I was better off then than I am now. Because now I'm less than the person I think I should be. But I realized that, do we really want to be the person who's miserable? Do we really want to be the person who's settling? I sometimes say in my presentations that one of the key things about leadership is you have to be able to lead yourself before you can lead other people. And one of the key things about leading yourself is always being willing to ask yourself, are there parts of my life that I'm settling? In my relationship, in my job, in my health? Are there parts of my life in which I'm settling? And we're all too young to be settling in any part of our life. And so I realized that it wasn't so much I'm afraid, or I was afraid, or we're afraid to leave what we have and try something new. It's really anxiety, because it's not a real fear. We shouldn't be afraid of not being who we think we're supposed to be. Because as long as we're miserable, and as long as we're not doing what we're driven to do, as long as we're not following passion, as long as we're settling for okay, because we're afraid that what else is out there might be worse, we're not being the person that we should be. And we should probably be ashamed of that person. I am ashamed of the person that I was for several months there, because I didn't have the courage in myself to go out and say, I can do this. I think that you can't be reckless, but you should be able to take risks. And the number one thing is, if you don't know how things are going to turn out, what we have to do is build up enough confidence in ourselves that we know is, even if we don't know what the plan will be, even if we don't know what the next step is, I think we still have to be able to build ourselves up to the point where we go, I don't know what the next step is. I hope it will work out this way. If it doesn't, I know I'll be okay. I don't know what that'll take. I know it'll be hard. I know it'll be tough, but I know I'll be okay. And I think leadership is about getting ourselves to a point where maybe we can see one step ahead or two steps ahead, but we're willing to take a risk if we don't know the third step, because we know whatever that third step, wherever it takes us, We'll make it. Anyway, that was the first question. Yeah, I was scared, but I realize now, maybe not scared, I was anxious, because what I was afraid of didn't actually exist. I wasn't going to starve to death. I wasn't going to be destitute. I was just afraid of looking back and being like, oh, wow, I'm even farther away from who I wanted to be. But every day you spend doing less than what you deserve is a chasm away from, I think, who you want to be. I'm off to Vancouver. I'll send you guys some highlights from there.